Hi everybody, Mike Toy here, Bonsai Boise. This is what I refer to as my work bonsai. It's a Ficus Benjamina. I've had it from a cutting for about 5 or 6 years. And this is going to be a story of how a little Ficus Benjamina cutting just tormented me for all of those years, especially today. I pulled it out just to do a kind of a routine trim. But before I get into all that and show you how it tortured me with decisions, I'll give you a quick look at it today, and then we'll go back in time and I'll kind of show you a little progression of how it got to this point. You can see there's some wire biting into the bark there. Nothing too bad, just a little bit. So the intent today was just to do some really kind of routine maintenance, loosen up the wire, do a little trim. But let's go back in time. Here it is on my desk, 2019. It's in a very small pot. The next year, if you really look closely at the structure, you'll see it's all wrong. There it is in September of 21. Then in November, I decided to tackle some of these issues. So I start making big, bold cuts. Starts with this little one. But you can see that it's got these branches that just go off of both sides, and the shape of it and the silhouette was fine, but the structure was just all wrong. And I knew that sooner or later I was going to have to do this. So I just bit the bullet and did it. In hindsight, maybe I would have chosen some different branches, but that's neither here nor there. I did what I did. Well, as you can see, it's just getting bolder. I think I still have a couple of those as cuttings. So there it is, the following October 2022, after some structural changes. And here it is now. Now let me show you some of the ways it's torturing me. Look at those long internodes. I mean, look at that. It's probably due to being in the greenhouse, but greenhouse effect, pardon the term, does that. But look at that. Long branch and then kind of a claw at the end. So first, and by the way, I don't know yet what I'm doing at this stage. I haven't made any big, bold decisions. I'm just doing some routine stuff. But the more I'm looking at it, it's just never really done what I would have hoped it would do. It never grew in the spots I wanted it to grow. It never grew in the direction I wanted it to grow. So you can see just big, long strips of trunk. Lots of growth on that bottom right-hand branch. Never in the direction I want. So I say, that's it. Enough is enough. And off with its arm. So that's big, bold cut number 1. It gets bolder. Watch this. Look away if you're squeamish. That's all right. Sometimes you gotta do it. Trunk chop. That'll make a nice cutting. Now, I will say too that I wasn't being hasty. I really looked at this tree for a while. In fact, this might even be the second day. I think I looked at it for a while, couldn't decide exactly what to do, came back a second day. I'm going to put some of this clear glue on the cuts. I do have some regular cut paste, but the cut paste that I have it gets a weird effect in the greenhouse. It turns black, whereas this glue seems to work a lot better. So I'll seal up the cuts here. So now, this is after looking at it for a couple of days, making those big cuts, and so now I'm looking at it going, okay, what direction am I going to take this thing? So I look at it, and I look at it, I look at it some more and realize all of my options suck. It's leaning the wrong way. It would have been better if it was leaning back first and then forward, or something other than, it can't just lean forward and then all the branches lean forward too. My original plan when I did this was I was going to change the direction of the trunk, repot it, and sort of give the main trunk a lean back. And then those branches that are leaning forward would have been a little bit straighter and it would have made a little more sense. But as I looked at them more, I'm realizing, man, they're still just, structurally speaking, it's still just not really right. And if I'm going to make these big, bold cuts, to fix the structure, I don't want to do all that and still not actually fix the structure. So I look at it, play around with options, sort of pick that as the front. But I just don't love it. I don't want to use the other side as the front because of that big wound that I just gave it when I trunk chopped it. So I really kind of backed myself into a corner here. So I'm considering options, wiring, maybe a couple more cuts and then wiring, repotting it at a different angle. But no option that I'm playing with really made sense. You might, hopefully you can tell, but the bottom branch on the right there, just the way that it's coming out of the front of the trunk and then cutting over to the right. So I decided to make some more big cuts. Relatively big to how big it is now. I'm like, okay, that kind of fixes it a little, but still the problems remain. This was just kind of a series of Hail Marys. I just don't love it. I don't know. It's something about the way it's structured right now. I don't love it. I'm okay making big, bold cuts and doing these big resets, but I kind of want it to be for a purpose. And so far, the purpose is just not working out the way I wanted it to. So I'm nibbling away. Hopefully you can see that bottom right branch, how it's coming out of the front of the trunk like that. I don't love that. It's just goofy. And then that leader in the middle, it's kind of like I swear, it's like it's giving me the middle finger. It's like saying, well, I'm not going to grow the way I want you to grow. So we got rid of it. Sorry, tree. It's for your own good and mine. I still don't like it. See how that's curving back in? So I put some wire on it. I'm like, okay, we'll manipulate this thing into a better position. Nope, still don't like it. I'm considering a whole range of things here, and none of them are working out. So I take the wire off. Another big cut. We don't have much left. I can't make these big cuts forever. Okay, can I work with this? Nope, sure can't. So off it goes. And this is what's left. I have to say that for the record, I'm not usually afraid to make big, bold cuts. I do them intentionally, but this one, it just sort of evolved into this situation. Also, here's a little trick I do for what it's worth. When I have to wire up some branches, especially some small ones, I'll sort of pre-coil the wire on something. This is just like a sharpening stick. Pre-coil it. Get it wrapped around a little bit. And then just sort of screw it on. Kind of like a corkscrew or something. Then you just tighten it up a little bit and adjust it where you need to. Anyways, it's not that high tech of a trick. It's just something I do so I don't have to try and bend it all up when it's on this delicate, tiny little branch. So anyways, I get it wired up, playing around with some different movements and directions, and I officially hate it. This is just not, it is so ugly. That is not at all what I thought was going to happen. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at for now. So I give up any hope on that for the time being and decide to just repot this thing. Kind of a standard repot. I couldn't find my little edge thing, so just using a stick to kind of break it loose. I hadn't watered it in a few days because generally it's a little easier to work with when the soil's on the drier side than being sopping wet. And I just kind of worked the soil off the roots little by little all the way around to get an idea of what we're working with. And unlike the branch structure, the root structure actually wasn't that bad. I mean, it's not perfect, but it never is perfect. So I was pleasantly surprised with the root situation. I have a little different approach when it comes to root work on Ficus Benjaminas. I don't get super particular because as long as you get it pretty close to even all the way around, the roots will eventually just fuse into each other to create that root base. So you do have to be a little bit mindful. You don't want it to get too out of balance one way or another. So that's all I'm doing, kind of raking it out just to get an idea of it. There's a couple of roots I'm going to have to trim just to get it in balance. A couple of them that are a little higher than others. Like that one. And there's one, in true fashion, this tree just fights me at every turn. It's going to fight me here too, you'll see. I'm blaming it on the tree. It's really me. It's user error. But I'm having fun blaming it on a tree. So I clipped that one. Realize I need a little bit more, so I clip a little bit more. I think I got it, so I take it and whoops. That's not at all what I was going for. At this point, I just give up any hope of this thing going smoothly at all. And let's just get it into shape so it fits in the pot. I'll point out another part of my reasoning for doing this was so that I could once and for all get this unruly tree back to square one so that going forward, I wouldn't have to deal with all these corrections. I mean, that's the whole point. You don't want to do a reset and then in a few years do another reset and in a few years do another reset. So that was sort of my hope as I was going along here is we'll get it back to square one. That way I don't have to do another reset later. And the jury is out. I don't know if that's going to be the end result or not. So we'll see. I'm giving it the equivalent of a bowl haircut. Put the bowl on the head and cut around. but it works. Okay, so once I get it situated, I just put the soil in, make sure I work it down into the roots, which shouldn't be too hard. The roots were not a big complex mess, so getting it worked in isn't too big of a struggle. From there, I take it downstairs, give it a good thorough rinse. Typically just rinse it out until the water, the water goes from cloudy to clear. So I just keep rinsing until the water starts coming out clear. It's a general rule of thumb. And this is kind of how it's looking. And then here it is the next day. I decided to take the wire off of the top, take a longer piece of wire up the main trunk, and actually give it some more movement instead. I like it a little bit better now. Or let's say I don't hate it quite as bad now. My most rebellious free spirit tree that never wants to do what I want it to do, which is fine, I suppose. So here it is. It could end up being kind of a longer, elegant looking, long trunk style. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Leave me any comments. Would love to hear any stories of rebellious trees that you've had in the past. I'm sure everybody's got one that just sort of fought them at every turn. Well, this was mine. So thanks again for watching. Have a good rest of your night, everybody.